This is President Trump. I believe we have a compromised president. He's a Manchurian candidate. Now, remember, we saw this before. Um, don't look at me like that. You're the one that put the look like shit in the other video. Good Lord. This is a man who is not getting a lot of sleep. I'm just saying. And also, real quick, before we get into this next one, who has the Hunter Biden laptop in the chat room? Who's got it this weekend? I just want to know who's going to have it through the weekend. I may need to look at it. So, yeah. Right. Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay. So you guys have made, you've put it in the replicator and you've made multiple copies of it, the whole physical thing. Excellent. Okay, cool. So everybody's got, all right, you're moving it around. Okay, you're moving it around. That's important. Just, I just want to know who has it last. It's like hot potato. I just want to know who's got it, in case I need to, look at something later. Now, round two. This one's longer. This one's 4 minutes long. And this is his statement on how compromised Joe Biden is. Now, obviously, I'm going to take this whole thing that I was just showing you about the wrist thing. Biden just signed an executive order. Let's see. This will do a couple of them. Yeah. It's funny who's covering this. Yeah, this is a week ago. Okay, so this is just so you know, because I know he's gonna. It's gonna have to do something with China. That's why he's saying Manchurian candidate. Biden has been harder on China than any single president in U.S. history, and with good reason. And for a couple, it's pretty obvious to those paying attention that there is no safe way to do business in China anymore. With the government being the way it is, it just doesn't make any sense. They have effectively turned into an enemy state in terms of the governing part of it. They steal every bit of technology that anybody even tries to replicate in the country. If you're over there creating a factory or whatever, they'll just steal whatever you got and they will turn it into, they'll use it as their own creation. They have no respect for patents or intellectual property, and they will also take it and use it for military purposes. Okay. So, that's becoming clear. So you don't have to be, if you're getting the kind of briefings about China that Biden is obviously getting, and TikTok, yes, there's also, it's very different even than when, pre-COVID, even when Biden was, vice president. And at that time, it's pretty clear that they were like, all right, look, something's hinky. They've changed direction a bit. You would have known that in the White House. But they might have still played along because we had a tremendous amount of industry that was, that their bottom line was in jeopardy if you did anything to China. Okay. If the US government did these kind of restrictions pre-COVID, it would have fucked with Apple and all these other companies. It would have been rough. But interestingly enough, they were trying to find ways out. And these companies were starting to put, had one foot out the door anyways. But then COVID happened and it was a unique opportunity. And the Biden administration, everybody involved, has been nonstop taking advantage of this, getting us the fuck out. Arguably, again, what Trump should have done in Afghanistan when COVID struck. He could have gotten everybody out during COVID without batting an eye. And somebody say you can do business with them, but don't trust them. Well, that business is largely based on trust, but also you just can't trust if you're in the material sector. If you build computer chips or you design anything that's unique or technologically advanced, they're going to steal it. And it's not because it's innate to Chinese character, because it isn't. It's the CCP's business model. That's it. And it's always kind of been that on a soft sense, because everybody looked the other way, like, well, they're behind the eight ball. They got a lot of people. They're starving. They're gonna pilfer some shit or whatever, but they make their own version of it, and it's not a big deal. And it's but then they started doing it with high-end, high-tech stuff and then started threatening Taiwan and other places. And you're like, all right, well, no. So anyways, Biden has been like on this from the very beginning. And with Russia, they did kind of a similar thing with China, where in the opening salvo, they like, we'd love to be nice to you guys. Let's talk. But that was mostly for show because the decisions had already been made. The situation was always going, this is how, this is the path we're on, and it's not changing. The demographic problems in China and the economic problems in China are set in stone. They are not going anywhere. There is no salvaging the situation there. And the worse it gets, the darker they'll get, and the more North Korea they're getting. And so Biden is just reacting, I would argue, normally under that. And he's doing it in a way that the only thing that's slowing him down is our companies being there. It's the number of American companies that have been, have a lot of stuff made over there, and they need time to move that factory either here to Mexico or Canada or to another country like Vietnam safely and while maintaining quality in their supply chain, right? Okay. This is brand new. He's been like, you could almost look at this article and go, this is like, what is this, every 3 weeks over the last year? President Joe Biden signed an executive order on Wednesday to block and regulate high-tech U.S.-based investment going toward China, a move the administration said was targeted, but it also reflected an intensifying competition between the world's two biggest powers. Also, like AP and Reuters have just been sticking to this old language. We're not competing with them. We aren't. This is not a swimming contest anymore. They are an alligator trying to bite our leg and take us on a death roll. It's very different. This isn't just economic competition at this point. The order covers advanced computer chips, microelectronics, quantum information technologies, and artificial intelligence. Senior administration officials said the effort stemmed from national security goals rather than economic interests, and that the categories it covered were intentionally narrow in scope. The order seeks to blunt China's ability to use U.S. investment in its technology companies to upgrade its military while also preserving broader levels of trade that are vital for both nations' economies. They're actually trying to operate this in like the consumer world. You just can't have our military stuff. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce responded in a statement earlier Thursday that it was a serious concern about the order and reserves the right to take measures. They're not going to do shit. They have no recourse. And I love this. The United States and China appear to be increasingly locked in a geopolitical competition with a conflicting set of values. Yes, we don't use slavery. They do. That would be it. The United States of America does not finance or use slavery. Period. And don't give me that shit about prison labor nonsense. Nobody has to do it. If you can work for, 25 cents an hour to take time off your sentence, you're not working for free. You're getting time back, which is the most valuable fucking thing in your life. So there. Biden administration officials have insisted they have no interest in decoupling from China. That's not true. They're just using de-risking and deleveraging. Yet the U.S. has also limited the export of advanced computer chips and kept the expanded tariffs set up by President Donald Trump. And again, kept the expanded tariffs. They have actually expanded on those tariffs. And in its response, China accused the U.S. of using the cover of risk reduction to carry out decoupling and chain breaking. China's engaged in crackdowns on foreign companies. Biden suggested that China's economy is struggling and its global ambitions have been tempered as the U.S. has re-energized its alliances with Japan, South Korea, Australia, and the European Union. The administration consulted with allies and industry on shaping the executive order. Worry about China, but don't worry about China, Biden told donors at a June fundraising event in California. On the nose. The officials previewing the order said that China has exploited U.S. investment to support the development of weapons and modernize its military. The new limits were tailored not to disrupt China's economy, but they were there to complement export controls on advanced computer chips from last year that led to pushback by Chinese officials. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know why AP. It didn't lead to pushback. They bitched about it. The Treasury Department, which would monitor the investments, will announce a proposed rulemaking with definitions that would conform to the presidential order and go through public comment process. The goals of the order would be the type of investors notified. And by the way, this is good. I'm glad they're doing this. But let's be abundantly clear. The people who make these kind of investments have already left. They have already. There is no upside to investing in China. They've decided, most of them, and they've moved on to someplace else. Period. So it's good to have this rule, but the rule is already being followed because of the circumstances that we're currently in. Now, let's go back to dipshit here, where he says Manchurian candidate. Again, Biden has been harder on China than any president in modern history. Far harder on them than Trump.
It is now 100% proven that the Biden crime family received more than $20 million from foreign countries while Crooked Joe was vice president.
Yeah, and salary and investment and work and so fucking what? How much did Jared and Ivanka make while you were in office, while they worked in the White House? Hunter never worked in the White House. They were there every fucking day. They saw everything. You gave Jared Kushner security clearance. How much is that worth? It's worth about $3 billion.
And probably a lot more than that. That's just the money they found.
They didn't.
Not one of Joe Biden's defenders has even attempted to explain what Joe and his family did.
Excuse me. Fuck you. All right. Don't pretend you don't watch my show, you monkey. You fucking old orangutan bastard. Just beating your chest in a corner and pretending to still be alpha. Get the fuck out of here. No. All right. So I've explained this a bunch of times because I've actually gone through it. But primarily at Burisma, the purpose of Joe Biden's son Hunter being there was that, and we talked about this a little bit with Philip Bittner this morning in talking about Ukraine, was that Ukraine had a problem. Everybody who invested in Ukraine because of the Russians that were trying to undermine the economy and the government of Ukraine for years because they were trying to absorb it back by making everybody in the fucking country upset at the government all the time. So they did everything they could to fill it with corruption and steal from it. That if you invested in Ukraine to try and help them get ahead, that money, the local boss would scrape off 10% for himself, and the money wouldn't go to make pipelines or build roads or any of that shit. It would go straight to fucking Russia, into the pockets of people like Vladimir Putin. Free money, because he doesn't have to steal from his own people, which he, obviously isn't afraid to do, but he could always guarantee his little extra grease, right? Always got that. The Lindell Summit is live. We'll jump over there in a minute. Oh boy. Probably right after this. Because it's not that long. So, having Hunter Biden on the Burisma board meant that he, of all people, because he couldn't disappear with a bunch of money because his fucking dad is vice president, would sit there and the money, whoever, that was given to Rosemont Seneca would actually go where it was supposed to fucking go. And it did. Burisma's a functioning company now. It's a multi-company kind of setup, but the money that gets invested in Burisma goes where it's supposed to go. And the oil and gas sector, except for the areas that Russia has fucking fired missiles at, is doing just fine. And so Hunter Biden's complete worth as a partner at Rosemont Seneca and on the board at Burisma was to take Burisma from a corrupt sock puppet of the Russian government that was meant to destroy it was part of a scheme to destroy the economy and the government of Ukraine so that they could take it over by soft power. Took it from that to a functioning company where when you invest in it, the money goes where it's supposed to. So fuck off. It worked. He was worth every goddamn penny. Secondly, the money for the Chinese deal from CEFC. We've gone through this a bunch of times. The money the Rosemont Seneca and those guys were setting up a thing where foreign energy interests would invest in and buy a part of American oil and gas companies, especially in the fracking boom, during the fracking boom, because it was growing and people needed machinery. So there was so much to be made in the fracking world, as I suppose, where we go, we all know.
You're going to frack.
That it was growing so fast at one point during the Obama administration, especially in the later years, and then it's continued to do so, that they literally couldn't get enough money in to make as much money as they could. You literally, they need to invest. There was so much gas to be extracted through hydraulic fracking and stuff that the machinery they couldn't make it fast enough. It was like ammunition in all this, in the battle in Ukraine. Like, you can't make it fast enough. So everybody was looking for investment everywhere. And so they were reaching out as wherever they could. And CEFC, which is an energy company, and they also, remember, China imports 80% of its energy. It's got coal plants, but it even buys coal from Australia. And it put a moratorium on Australian coal at one point where they were like, we don't like how Australia's talking about it, so it's illegal to buy Australian coal. So they bought Australian coal from India so that because they needed the coal so bad, but they didn't want people to know that they cut off their nose to spite their face. So there were lots of opportunities where people were trying to invest in it. And a lot of people inside were trying to go, okay, where can we find money from companies outside either investors in the United States and outside to invest in these gas fields. And specifically, the CEFC deal was a $40 million deal to buy an interest in a Louisiana gas company, a fracking company that was going to expand. The idea that would be the investment in it. They would buy this small company for less than that, and then they would, for like $12 million, and then they would put the extra money into more machinery and all that kind of stuff, and then they would jump into the natural gas boom that was happening. And you know what kind of boom I'm talking about.
Jella boom.
Boom, yeah. I understand boom.
Bada boom.
Right. So, that is specifically the deal that was going to go. It was a $40 million deal. The deal did not go through because Hunter Biden insisted that CEFC open a U.S. Affiliate of their company, like register it in the United States under U.S. law, and the investment would go through that. Therefore, it would be under the U.S. financial regulations, and it would be right with the SEC. Okay. That was the argument at that point. It fell apart because they fucking wouldn't. And ultimately, they had put 10% in an account to get this deal started because they said, yes, we're in. Okay, well, if we're going to start making this deal and arranging it, you got to put 10% in an account. And then if it falls through, we get that 10%, right? That was the deal. This isn't me saying this. This is what their paperwork showed. This is what the Republican evidence about this was. And when the deal died, that money that was sitting in that holding account got transferred to the people involved in making the deal, and as a sorry for fucking with you money. That's what it was. And it got divided amongst the partners in there. And Hunter, who'd been scrambling to make this deal, paid off a bunch of his debts to people with his part of the money. That was it. It's not even weird. It happens all the fucking time. And the reason it fell apart ultimately, too, is because Hunter Biden didn't want to be on the bad side of Farah. So there. Feel free, any maggots, anybody who disagrees with me, to dive in, because you'll find the exact same thing. Just saying.
Including his children and his grandchildren. What were they doing getting all of this money? I believe we have a
I don't know. Explain Jared's venture capital fund.
Compromised president. He was bribed, and now he's being blackmailed.
Okay. First of all, how can you blackmail someone with information everybody already has? Secondarily, if he's being blackmailed, is someone blackmailing Joe Biden to skull fuck China? Honest to God.
He's a Manchurian candidate.
I learned that phrase. I saw it in the movie. Somebody was at Angela Lansbury. I'd call her a 2, but she was at a show. You can't argue with success. We had the same hair for a while.
That's why Crooked Joe is letting other countries walk all over the United States. He's afraid to bring it up. He doesn't want to talk.
Literally. We're engaged in normalizing relationships between Saudi Arabia and Israel. The 5 prisoners who are being held in Iran are being released. Anthony Blinken and all of them have gone over to China many, many times, but in all of those talks, it has not steered us away from the inevitable decoupling that is actually happening. What the fuck is he talking about?
He's petrified of China because they know exactly how much money has been given to him.
What? Do you? Name the number. Pick a number. And again, what is he doing in exchange for this money? How in the world do you blackmail someone to lay the CHIPS Act on you? That didn't come out of the Congress and he's like, oh, fuck, I have to sign this thing or they're going to know I'm in on it. It was his idea, dumbass.
And they know exactly where it is.
Do they? Do they? Can they tell us? Can you tell us? Where is it? Any of it. It ain't at the lake house. Neither of his houses are that big. I can't think of a president that has properties all over the world that could hide that amount of money given to him by foreign sources. Can you?
China has paid him a fortune. Just think of what China has gotten for all that money. Biden.
Okay, let's hear it. He's going to list it. Please tell me what China has gotten in exchange for the money.
Shut down my administration's initiative targeting Chinese spies in the United States. He shut it down cold.
Okay. No, he didn't. The China Initiative, all they did was change the name because apparently it made China aware that there was a program that was looking out for them. They kind of put their guard up because which, by the way, arguably could have been the reason for it. The China Initiative, which Trump put in, is racist as fuck. But on top of that, we still have the legal system in place to track down these folks and make sure that they're not stealing information and make sure they're not putting CCP officers in universities and laboratories and that kind of shit. That still continues. They just don't call it the China Initiative anymore.
He let China off the hook for COVID.
He did? Off the hook? What do you mean off the hook? What do you propose? Nuking them? What's the answer? I'm dead serious. Where do we go? Where's this?
He shut down the investigation into the origins of the China virus.
No, he didn't. They did one. They just know that they're not going to get any more information because unless they invade and send troops into the Wuhan lab, they're not going to find any more information.
He did nothing as China began setting up bases in Cuba, taking over South.
That started under you, dumbass. You did nothing while China set up a base in Cuba. We fucking discovered it. Good Lord. This is like the Saudi thing. So the Chinese were building a secret military base in this port they were building for the Saudis. And we told them, we told the Saudis, like, hey, guess what? China's building a secret port. Like, see this? Here's a satellite image. See that? Yeah, that's military hardware. That's not, that's not for parking boats. They're setting up a base there, just so you know. And they went, oh shit, and they shut it down. Same thing with Cuba.
America and threatening Taiwan. They even took over the Panama Canal. We spent a fortune building it. Jimmy Carter's administration sold it for $1.
Oh my fucking God. We're doing this shit again. No, he didn't. And we did not. The French fucking started it. We bought it. It wasn't even a fortune then.
We lost 36,000 people building the Panama Canal. The mosquitoes got them malaria.
Fucking mosquitoes. They owe us for the mosquitoes. We spent millions of dollars on mosquito nets.
Yeah, the mosquitoes got them. And now China controls it.
No, they don't.
Russia and China are even doing military exercises near the Aleutian Islands, right off the coast of Alaska.
Yeah, they did them. The Russians did exercises just like those in the same fucking waters while you were president. They threatened American fishing boats with violence, and you didn't do shit.
And Biden sits back on his hands. He does nothing.
Well, he's doing the stranger. That's why you make one of them go numb, so it feels like getting a hand job from a dead person, I guess.
This never would have happened if I was president.
It did happen while you were president. God damn. All the time.
If they even thought about it, I would have shut it down instantly. There's no way they would have done any of this.
How do you shut down a thought? But never mind. Also, China's been talking about reunification with Taiwan, and that's what they've been calling it for fucking ever.
Kind of thing, including Russia invading Ukraine, would have never happened.
They were still doing it. The invasion started in 2014, motherfucker. They never left. They doubled down. You didn't get them out. Stop fucking bragging.
And China wouldn't even be thinking about Taiwan right now. Crooked.
They're always thinking about Taiwan. Motherfucker, they've been thinking about Taiwan since Chiang Kai-shek fucked off there with the crown jewels of the emperor.
Joe's corruption is a glaring threat to national security. Between the millions and millions of dollars he's gotten from China and the millions of dollars from Ukraine, Joe Biden's greed and criminality is going to get us into World War III. We're going to be in World War III with this guy.
This dude. Why is he going to do it? This fella. This guy, I don't like his trouser legs. I don't like them. They dangle too much. I don't like it. This fella. This hip cat. I love that this is one of the new talking points on the super far right is that the Ukrainians are blackmailing Biden into giving money and support. Then why is the rest of Europe doing it? Again, does Zelensky have compromising material on every European leader? Jesus Christ. I understand that argument for Germany, although considering what those people consider acceptable kink, I don't know what they'd be ashamed of. Olaf Scholz could be in a fucking vinyl zipper hood and they'd go, oh, good, you have to do something on the weekends, But how does it explain everybody else? It's the same thing with like the firing of Shokin. The IMF wanted it. The entire U.S. Congress wanted it. The administration entirely wanted it. But Joe Biden says it, and suddenly it's because they've got something on him.
Grossly incompetent man. Now the corrupt Biden DOJ is continuing the cover-up with the appointment of a special counsel to block further investigation.
Yes, that's what special counsels are for. Oh, so is that what Jack Smith is doing? Is he blocking further investigation to do? Because I have to say, I know most of what he's referencing because we watched the Jan 6 stuff and I read all that stuff. But there are a couple of beats in there that I'm like, oh, I didn't see that part. That's new. That's interesting.
It's the very same U.S. attorney who cut Hunter Biden the scandalous plea deal that was such a scam it didn't survive the barest scrutiny in court.
Is it just me or is his hair fucked up?
It was done under what's called blue slip. It wasn't picked in that position by President Trump. It was picked by the Democrat senators in the state. It's called a blue slip. You'll check it out.
What? Hold on. The fuck?
Hunter Biden, the scandalous plea deal that was such a scam it didn't survive the barest scrutiny in court. It was done under what's called blue slip. It wasn't picked in that position by President Trump. It was picked by the Democrat senators in the state. It's called a blue slip. You'll check it out. But they picked him. I didn't pick him. This is correct.
Oh, I see. So he's trying to say that he didn't put Barry Weiss in. I'll show you what. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Prosecutors will be.
Oh, shut up. Oh, back up.
By the Democrat senators in the state. It's called a blue slip.
Okay. This is. Oh, sorry. This is even out of an idea. It was just. Yeah, there we go. So This is him trying to sell this whole thing. That basically the idea is that there's two Democratic senators in the state, and therefore they get to offer up who they think should be there. But he could always override them. He just doesn't care. So former President Trump questioned the decision to elevate U.S. Attorney for Delaware David Weiss to special counsel in the Hunter Biden investigation on Friday, claiming that the federal prosecutor would not have been picked by me. David Weiss was picked by two Democratic senators from Delaware under blue slip. Trump posted in Truth Social. He would not have been picked by me. Weiss was nominated by the former president in 2017 and confirmed by the unanimous Senate vote in 2018. The blue slip process allows senators to indicate their support for or opposition to judicial nominees in their home states. While both Democratic senators from Delaware supported Weiss's nomination, his appointment was relatively non-controversial, according to the New York Times. Weiss began investigating Hunter Biden in 2018. Blah, blah, blah. He's been since drawn the scorn of Republicans. I have a great idea. Why don't they use deranged Jack Smith? Weiss has been investigating Hunter for 4 years, giving him a sweetheart deal of all sweetheart deals. But a brilliant judge in Delaware saw through it all. Now I read the Department of Injustice wants a new judge in jurisdiction, but so do I, with far stronger reasons than Hunter and Crooked Joe. On Tuesday this week, Mr. Weiss advised me that in his judgment, his investigation had reached a stage which he could continue his work as special counsel, and he has to be so appointed. Upon considering the request, as well as extraordinary circumstances, there we go. Okay. So the idea is that Trump isn't responsible for it because they had a say in it because there's two Democratic senators in the state, and he absolutely could have. Just saying.
Check it out. But they picked him. I didn't pick him. This is
you just nominated him, and the vote happened, and he was voted in unanimously.
Corruption like our country has never seen before. That is why as soon as I am reelected,
not going to happen.
I will appoint a real special counsel, or maybe you'll call it a special prosecutor, whatever you
want to call it. I don't know. Legally, there might be a difference, but I don't give a shit.
You want to call it, you can.
Yes, you could say prosecutor. You just don't call civil unions marriages.
To look at all of these bribes, kickbacks, and other crimes, as well as the shameless attempt at a cover-up, justice will be done. The Biden crime family will be looked at. We have to get there first. We have to win the election. They're trying to step in my way at every path because the one person they don't want to run is Donald Trump. But when we get...
He's so offended by the fact that they're fine with him running because they know he fucks up the electorate.
There, the Biden crime family will pay a price like other people are being forced to pay. And that price will be very, very substantial. It'll be fair. But you know what? If they're guilty, they're going to be guilty.
It's true. I mean, when you're right, you're right. If they're guilty, they're going to be guilty. It's I don't even know how to argue with that. It's because it's an amazing argument on two fronts. One, it's linguistically an absolute. It of course makes sense, and on the other hand, it's absolute gibberish.
They are doing to justice in this country has never even been thought of before.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, we've thought of everything. Does he say thank you very much?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, right. You're welcome. No, what they're destroying justice. Thank you. On my poo-poo. Rum. So anyways, regardless, a whole lot of stupid.